But there is no amount of willpower that can make a body consistently sustain more output than it's prepared to do. Hello, my name is Rebecca. I am a wushu athlete. I just wrapped up my 30-day head-to-toe challenge. Links to the start of that challenge and the recap video in the description. In making the recap video, I realized that I had a lot to say about one of the sticking points for a lot of wushu athletes, which is consistency. So this video covers some of my thoughts on why consistency is difficult and some things that you can do about it. This video was mostly inspired by a conversation that I had with Mark Moran, another wushu vlogger out there, but it also pertains to a lot of other people that I've interacted with, friends, coworkers, relatives, who all struggle with consistency goals. That said, this is just my 2 cents. Definitely let me know in the comments, 1, why consistency is difficult for you, and 2, how you deal with it. Thanks. A big piece of advice that people often give about stretching is that you have to be consistent. And this is very true, and this is very hard, and this is where I think a lot of people get really stuck. People are busy, and they're probably at about an exertion level of activity and energy that they can reasonably sustain. And by exertion of energy, I don't just mean stretching or training, I mean work things, life things, anything that requires your attention and time. People are usually exerting just about as much as they can reasonably sustain to start with, and then they try to set some additional goal, which increases that volume of exertion, and it's tiring, and they can't sustain it, and then they revert back to their original lifestyle and don't reach their goals. And that's not because there's anything wrong or bad with that person, it's because it's very, very difficult and unlikely for a person to be able to maintain a higher level of output than they already were doing. I think that there are 2 ways to solve this problem. They are pretty boring and unsexy, but they work. The first is if you're setting a new goal for yourself, try not to actually increase the amount of energy you're expending, but actually remove something else from your schedule so that you're basically maintaining your overall output. This is mostly what I did when I was drastically increasing the amount of time I spent stretching every week, which is to say I did a little bit less wushu every day and dedicated that time to stretching. So for example, if we were 15 to 20 minutes before the end of a wushu practice, I would put down my weapons and sit down somewhere and start stretching. I hate stopping to practice, but it was more important for me to be making those wushu gains and trying to be consistent there than whatever gains I would have been making in practice otherwise, so that's what was worth it for me. Especially with goals like flexibility, it's really important for your body to be relaxed as you're doing it so that you can exhale and extend yourself to an even farther range of motion than before. So if you are running out the door, if you're trying to get somewhere else, if you're not focused, if you don't have that very deliberate time carved out, you're probably not going to be very effective at your stretching and you're not going to reach your goals. So yeah, trying to solve that problem of not being able to sustain increased energy output to reach a goal. For this particular goal, I solved it by removing other volume from my training schedule. The other way to solve this problem, also boring and unsexy, is that you actually can increase the amount of expenditure that you have in your schedule, but you have to do it very, very slowly over an extended period of time. So for example, instead of adding 10 stretching sessions to your week, you have to add very, very small increments and only increase how much you're adding when you know that you can sustain how much you're at. So for example, this week you stretch 15 minutes, next week you add 15 minutes, so you stretch 30 minutes, but say you missed your stretching time and can only stretch 25 minutes out of that 30 minutes, then the next week, instead of adding more time, you have to keep at that same very, very small level until you can keep that pace. And then you add more until you can very consistently keep that amount, and then you add more until you can consistently keep that. And it takes a long time to get to the total volume that you want, but that is the way that if you want to add more stuff, add more exertion, add more volume to your overall schedule, that's one way you can do it. I think it's a really common misconception that in order to reach a consistency goal, you need to have self-discipline and a lot of willpower. And those things definitely help, but there is no amount of willpower that can make a body consistently sustain more output than it's prepared to do. Maybe you can sustain greater output for a short period of time, but for a goal like flexibility, you really need to be in it for the long run. Thank you so much for watching. Again, this is just my 2 cents. Please let me know in the comments, 1, why consistency is difficult for you, and 2, how you deal with it. If you haven't checked them out already, I definitely recommend my other 2 videos on my head-to-toe challenge, the kickoff video and the recap, which I will, if it's possible, I will link them on the screen, otherwise they will be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.